Next is version. So you would want to make small changes to our existing job once your job is full and finally designed. This helps in tracking the versions. You can always increment with a capital M for bigger changes and small m for smaller changes. When you increment the capital M, this part, like whatever the major version of this job, is incremented, and when you increment the minor version, the decimal part of the job would be incremented. Status has options if it's a development environment, or if it's a testing environment, or if it's a production environment. Let's go ahead and take it as development. Path is where you want to store this job, because we have already given the workspace and we want to store it in the workspace. I am not passing any parameter for this and I'm leaving it as it is. Here, the job name is only mandatory column. However, it's a best practice to give purpose and description for each of the job that we are creating. Let's go ahead and click on Finish. This will help us building our first job. Well, there it is. You can see that a job has been created and immediately you have this palette populated and the designer view or the designer window is ready to launch our components into the job. Here, in this view, you would find all your jobs created. So this job designs will have all the jobs that are created in this project. Now that we have only one job, we are able to see this here. Once you go ahead and create a couple of other jobs, all this will be under this job designs hierarchy. There are other all this variables that we're seeing like context, code, SQL templates, metadata, documentation, recycle bin. We will go ahead and explore all of this, but before that, let's start with our first job. Come to this designer view, click on this, and we have two ways that we can use this components in this designer view. So now, how does Talend work, or how do we design a job in the Talend? There are multiple components that are available in different groups. Here, if you see, these all are the groups. There is a big data, BI, business, cloud, file, miscellaneous, logs and errors, whatnot. So these are the various groups that are there. In each of these, you have subgroups where you have multiple components that are given by Talend for various business purposes. So if you go click on databases, you would see some common database components like how do you give an input to the database, how do you establish a connection using TDB connection, and if you go to file, there are input categories, management categories, and so forth. So here you have a T file input delimited, and then there is, if you go to output, there are T file output delimited components. Any component in Talend is always initialized with T at the start. So if it's starting with T and then the component name, it's always a Talend component. It's a component in the Talend. So here, let's go ahead and bring up one of the components to our window. There are multiple ways that we can do that. First way, because I know that there is a T message box inside the miscellaneous group in the palette, I would directly come here, click on the miscellaneous group, which will expand to all the components. And here I see a component called T message box. So I go ahead and drag this here. This is option 1. Now let me delete this. And because option 2 is, I know the component name and it starts with T message. I type it in the palette and go ahead and click on search. Here I have the T message box component. So again, I drag and drop it here. This is second way. I'll show you third way as well. Go ahead, delete this. So now again, the window is empty and you don't have anything here. Come to the window, designer window, and then type the component name, T message. This also displays whatever the matching components that are available. So I have team message box as the first one. Another advantage of this method, it also gives you a short description of what is this message box for. Go ahead and create team message box. Now your message box is ready for further additions in your designer window. What are the further additions we want to do? We want to customize this message box so that this prints whatever the message that we intended to print. How do we do that? Select this in the designer view, come to the component part of it. This component is specific to whatever the component that we select. Go ahead and give a title to this. Let me say first message, and it's a hello world. So let's leave it like that. And then this message box is ready for running the job. Go ahead, click on run. There you go. That's building the job, and you're seeing that there is an operation in process, and that's the message, hello world. So that is how we print our first message. Whatever the name that we have configured has a header, and whatever this description that we have given has come in the window. Let's go ahead and click hello world. Okay, this has disappeared. Click on this, come back to the components and say hello world. This is Talend first job. And we would go ahead and also edit this. Go ahead and run this again. So it's building up. Yes. Have you seen the changes updated? This says the header has come as first message, Talend, and the message is hello world. This is Talend first job. That's how we build our first job. In our next session, we would go ahead and see the best practices and explore a bit more about all these windows that are available.